Welcome to the Kindness Extremist podcast. I'm your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa. I've spoken to tens of thousands of people all over the world about the importance of kindness. And I am obsessed with how we can bring more kindness into our daily lives and restore balance to a deeply unbalanced world. Every episode, I'll give you 3 practical strategies to create a kinder world, and I'll do it in 30 minutes or less. No fluff, just valuable, actionable content that you can implement in your life immediately after listening to help you actively create a kinder world. There's no time to waste. Let's dive in. What's up, family? Welcome back. It's an honor that you're here for episode 3 of the Kindness Extremist podcast. You might not actually know this about me, but when I'm not recording podcast episodes, my day job is working as a professional keynote speaker. If you're not familiar with the term keynote speaker, that basically means that I'm brought in to deliver talks at corporations, at colleges, and professional conferences to set the right tone, or as the name suggests, set the keynote for their events. I've been doing this full time since 2018, and during this time, I've spoken to tens of thousands of people all over the world about the importance of kindness, my favorite topic. To call it the best job in the world would be the understatement of a lifetime. While I would confidently, if not unscientifically, say that 99.5% of this work is overwhelmingly positive, just like most jobs, there is that super small percentage of people that you run into in your work that makes you scratch your head and question the goodness of humanity. Case in point, a few years ago, shortly after delivering a speech at an event, I was talking to the lovely attendees of the event who gathered near the stage to meet me after I was done. Well, almost all of them were lovely. I'll never forget one woman who waited patiently for her turn to talk to me. When she finally reached me in line, there was no hello or I enjoyed your talk or even, hey, I have a question about what you said. None of that. Instead, she looked me dead in the eyes and blurted out with an expression of complete disbelief. I'm shocked that you speak so well. Cue the needle screeching off the record player. By the way, for those of you youngins listening to this podcast, that's a universal sign that something crazy just happened. Before I get to my response to her, it's important to note that I suffer from a tragic condition that I call hindsight brilliance. It's when I have the best response ever to an ignorant statement. But predictably, that clapback arrives in my brain hours later, which obviously does me no good. There has to be at least one person listening to this podcast episode who suffers from this annoying affliction as much as I do. This condition is incredibly unfortunate because sadly, I'm no stranger to crazy and unkind comments. Here are a few of them. You don't act black, or you don't talk black. Side note, y'all. Acting black or talking black isn't a thing. For the record, I speak well, and I shouldn't need to say this, but that's not associated to a particular race. Or, why can't more black people be polite and kind like you are? Side note, it is wild work to talk about being polite and kind while simultaneously saying something profoundly impolite and unkind. If you're unaware why this is offensive to say to a person of color, I'm not sure that anything in the Kindness Extremist podcast can help you. For context, when this woman in the audience reached me in line to tell me that she was shocked that I spoke so well, she was sincerely surprised. As the comment left her lips, she had the look of wide-eyed amazement as if she just saw a talking hippo at the zoo. Here's the thing, y'all. As mentioned, I speak for a living. Shouldn't I speak well if this work is the primary means of securing shelter, warm food, and indoor plumbing for my family for the past decade? Would this woman be equally shocked if her car mechanic was handy with a wrench or if her accountant prepared her taxes correctly? Of course, I didn't say either of those things to her because, again, hindsight brilliance. I am going to share what I did say to her, and it's something that you can use with reliable effectiveness the next time someone says something ignorant or unkind to you. What was my response when the woman said that she was shocked that I spoke so well? It's simple, and it's the first of my 3 kindness strategies in this episode. I gave a slight head tilt, paused for 2 seconds, and asked, "What do you mean by that?" I love this question because instead of me expending my emotional labor for her educational benefit, I'm putting the onus back on her to unpack her ignorant statement. It's like she asked me to open a package with all sorts of nastiness inside. And instead of me opening it, I'm like, nah, fam, how about you open it? Tell me what's inside. Predictably, when I asked her what she meant by her comment, I could sense her getting flustered as she struggled to reply. "I'm not sure why I said that. This is awkward." I looked her in the eyes and I responded, "Yes, this is awkward. You said you were shocked that I spoke well. Can you explain why? I'm confused." Here's the thing. If people insist on making things uncomfortable, then it's only fair for them to sit with me in the discomfort that they created, right? If you're thinking, "Wait a minute, Shola, how is purposely making her feel uncomfortable a kind thing to do?" I have two thoughts on this. First of all, it's worth remembering that I didn't make the situation uncomfortable. She did. All I'm doing is inviting her to grab a seat with me at the awkward table that she set for us. There's a very important reason for this. Most people tend to avoid discomfort, and that's why discomfort is such a powerful teaching tool. Think of it like touching a hot stove. Usually, once you've done it once, you've learned an important lesson and you most likely won't do it again. And yes, it is an act of pure kindness to use discomfort to encourage people to reflect on how their words and actions affect others. Secondly, my life's mission and the goal of this podcast is to create a kinder world. That outcome will be a statistical impossibility if folks like this woman are roaming these streets thinking that it's okay to say hurtful and ignorant things to other people. Unfortunately, though, here's the trap that far too many people fall into. If I responded to that woman's ignorant comment by screaming at her or cursing her out, obviously I would never do these things, just play along. That may satisfy my lesser angels in the moment, but it will only reinforce her less than enlightened views about me and about people who look like me. Or still, if I did respond to her by cursing her out, now I'm the bad guy. Not to mention, I'll likely never score another paid speaking gig for the rest of my life. There are countless stories of people in workplaces all over America who've been targeted by ignorant comments and decided, again, understandably, to respond emotionally to those comments. In almost all of those examples, I'll give you one guess at who was called into the Human Resources office to be reprimanded for their unprofessional behavior. If you guessed the person who initially made the hurtful comment, you guessed wrong. That's why we must be more strategic instead of letting our lizard brain impulses take control of the wheel. The "what do you mean by that" question not only protects you from retaliation, but more importantly, it also invites the other person to engage in the necessary self-reflection required to begin the process of behavior change. A process that will not happen by engaging in a full frontal counterattack, as warranted as that may be. My example, quite frankly, is just one example. There's so many examples. Since the audience member incident from years ago, it hasn't stopped folks from saying wildly inappropriate things to me and to other people I know. Allow me to share a few of those examples, and thankfully, my friends and I had the "what do you mean by that" question ready to deploy. One example is, "Wow, you speak English so well." That was actually said to a Japanese American man at a restaurant. And in addition to asking the "what do you mean by that" question, he followed up by saying, "Thanks. I was born down the street in Santa Monica. You speak English well too." Sometimes holding up a mirror to an ignorant statement is the kindest thing that you can do in the moment. Another example is, "Wait, you're a lesbian? But you're so pretty." That was said to a woman in a professional setting when she revealed that she was in a same-sex marriage. Or how about this one? "Hey, is this your first time sitting in first class?" This one was actually directed at me. And to add to the awfulness, this was smugly said to me by another Black man on a recent flight, which is a great reminder that anyone from any walk of life is capable of saying wildly ignorant things. If you're a woman, a person of color, a person with a disability, a Jewish person, a Muslim person, or a marginalized person of any kind, I'm confident that you have plenty of examples where you could have used the what do you mean by that question, but hindsight brilliance prevented you from doing so. The good news, or actually probably bad news, depending on how you look at it, is that you're going to have plenty of chances to use this question in the future, I promise. Keep it in your back pocket to inspire others to self-reflect in hopes of creating a kinder world. Hey, fellow kindness extremists, it's me, Shola. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you're mowing what I'm growing, if you're smelling what I'm stepping in. Okay, I'll stop. If you're enjoying what you're listening to so far, I would love it if you would take a moment to hit the subscribe button and leave a rating and a review. Those incredibly kind acts go so far in helping me to reach as many people as possible who will join the movement to actively create a kinder world. I appreciate you so much, my friend. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Unfortunately, there will be times when using the what do you mean by that question won't make any sense. In those cases, here's my second kindness strategy. Relentlessly respect yourself. In my travels as a workplace consultant, I have compiled countless examples of behavior that will inspire the need to demonstrate relentless respect for ourselves. For example, when someone touches your pregnant belly without permission, or when someone touches your hair without permission. The latter happens to Black women a ton. Or when someone continuously mispronounces your name, or worse, makes up a nickname for you that's easier for them to pronounce. When someone continuously confuses you with other people of the same racial group. Or when someone expects you as a member of a marginalized group to be the unofficial spokesperson for that marginalized group. In all of those instances, and many more that I didn't mention here, if you're on the less pleasant side of that interaction, you're instantly thrust into a situation where you're forced to answer a series of yes or no questions within seconds. Should I address this now? Should I address this later? Should I let it go? Do I have a relationship worth maintaining with this person? Am I trying to raise awareness that what they said or did is problematic? Am I hoping to change their behavior? And to make this even more challenging, each answer presents a choose your own adventure of consequences that could affect your career, your reputation, your self-worth, and your mental health. To make this process a little easier, just ask yourself this. Which option will allow me to relentlessly show respect to myself? Sometimes that can mean just shaking your head, protecting your peace, and letting it go. Sometimes, though, a simple correction in the moment is the kindest thing you can do. Please don't touch my belly or my hair. That makes me very uncomfortable. My pronouns are he, him. Is there something I can do to help you remember this? I'm not Jamal. I'm Ricky. I'm concerned that you keep mixing the two of us up. Thanks for the offer. I don't want to be the chair of the LGBTQ committee just because I'm trans. At this point, dear listener, you might be thinking, oh my God, I've actually done these things in the past and I didn't mean any harm or disrespect. Fair enough. Just remember this. Your impact is way more important than your intentions. If we harm someone, the kind thing to do is to address the impact and not rush to center ourselves by focusing on our intentions. More on that in the third kindness strategy to come. For now, just remember this. Relentlessly respecting ourselves is an act of kindness, not only for ourselves, but also for the people who need to become more self-aware of the impact of their words and their actions. The final strategy is to own it. Because we're imperfect humans, we're going to screw this up and make some cringy mistakes while we're trying to create a kinder world. Case in point, years ago, I was delivering a presentation in front of a small audience, and I used the word lame, L-A-M-E, presumably to describe something bad or undesirable. A person in the audience who later shared that she had a disability checked me by kindly and firmly mentioning that lame is a flippant term to describe a person with a disability, and she was offended by my use of it. Obviously, my intention wasn't to disrespect people with disabilities. And keeping it real, I was tempted to get defensive and focus on the purity of my intentions. To this day, I'm grateful that I summoned the impulse control not to do that. Making the world a kinder place means owning the impact of our actions despite our pure intentions. And on that note, here are some things to do and not do when we figuratively step in it and say something regretful. Do reflect on the impact of our words and our actions. Do sincerely apologize. An example could be, I'm sorry that I made that comment and I understand how that was hurtful. Simple. Do acknowledge our impact and commit to doing better going forward. Don't say, I'm sorry that you're offended. Non-apologetic apologies are the worst. Don't say, I'm sorry if I did something to upset you. Ifs and buts should be nowhere near a sincere apology. And don't reiterate your intent and make it about you. After I made my unfortunate lame comment, I sincerely apologize, own my ignorance about the meaning of the word, and pledge to do better going forward. It actually ended up being a really cool learning moment for me, and from what I heard afterward, for others in the audience who witnessed it. Interestingly enough, though, there were some people who thought that my apology was extremely unnecessary. One guy in particular came up to me afterward, I'm paraphrasing. So wait a minute. Are you saying that I need to apologize anytime someone gets offended by something that I said or did innocently? When does it become the responsibility of the other person to get some thicker skin and quit being victimized by everything that makes them uncomfortable? This nonsense is getting out of hand. This gentleman and I saw the situation completely differently. The way I see it, who am I to judge why someone is offended by what I said or did? If we're trying to create a kinder world, it costs us nothing to ask questions to better understand the impact of our words and actions, own the fact that we may have harmed someone, and commit to do better. Okay, to recap, here's what I want to leave you with in this episode. First of all, hindsight brilliance is unquestionably a thing. Maybe I'll get this phrase trending because I know that I'm not the only one suffering from this. To combat against this annoying made-up affliction of mine, we're going to need some strategies. The first kind of strategy is to use the question, what do you mean by that, when someone says something ignorant or unkind? It is a powerful way to invite self-reflection in the person and ideally get the person to think before speaking in the future. Remember, it is always okay to invite people to sit with you in the uncomfortable situation that they created. The second kind of strategy is to relentlessly respect yourself. Sometimes that will involve protecting your peace, ignoring the ignorant comment or behavior, and moving on. Sometimes, though, that will involve offering a simple and straightforward correction in the moment. The key is to ask yourself, which decision will give me the best chance to relentlessly show respect to myself? And then do that thing. Please, be warned. You're not going to get this right 100% of the time, but the more you apply the strategy, the better you'll get at it. Sadly, some of the kindest people I know fail to direct kindness back to themselves. Relentlessly respecting ourselves is my reminder for us to consistently do so. Final kind of strategy is when you make a mistake, and you will, please own it. Perfection is not required in this kindness work. Thank goodness for all of us, because I know I would not meet that standard. What is required is apologize sincerely, set your intention aside, and own your impact, and most importantly, commit to doing better the next time. These strategies aren't easy to implement, especially in the heat of the moment. God knows I've failed so many times, but with practice, they will become more natural. Most of all, you'll be able to practice true kindness without sacrificing your boundaries, your sanity, or your dignity in the process. This is your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa, and you now know that kindness cannot be weak because you just experienced the strength of the Kindness Extremist podcast. Until next time, friends, the journey to a kinder world continues. Thank you for listening to the Kindness Extremist podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I have one favor to ask you. If you could kindly hit the subscribe button, leave a rating and a review, not only would that be incredibly kind, but by doing so, you're actively playing a role in growing this movement and ideally getting us one step closer to creating a kinder world. I hope to see you next week for another episode of the Kindness Extremist podcast. Bye for now.